The Colugo, also known as the flying lemur even though it isn't one. There are two types of colugos, the Philippine colugo and the Sunda Colugo. I will be talking about the Sunda Colugo. The Sunda Colugo is endemic to the forests of Borneo, Sumatra, Java, the Malay Peninsula, and many other small islands. They are terrestrial forest creatures and prefer to inhabit dense rainforest. They can readily adapt to disturbed forest edges and plantations and are sometimes considered pests. Humans are one of the few known predators of the colugo. If they feel as if they are being threatened, colugos will freeze or climb higher up into the trees. They are arboreal creatures and are very clumsy on land. With their legs joined together, they are quite helpless. They also aren't very good at climbing trees. They use their claws to scrape the bark and then hop up with their paws. Colugos are strict herbivores and eat soft parts of plants like young leaves, flowers, shoots, and fruits. They have competition for food when it comes to the plantain squirrel, whose diet also consists of fruit and leaves. An adaptive trait of an organism is a trait that develops over time that positively influences their survival and reproductive rates. The adaptive trait of the Sunda Colugo is the large membrane that stretches over their whole body, which is called a patagium. They can glide over 100 metres from tree to tree with a loss of less than 10 metres. The thinness of their patagium makes them all the lighter, which gives them less weight to work with when gliding. Sunda Colugo's weight can vary from 0.9 kilos to 2 kilos. The underside of their body is pale, whereas the fur on the top of their body is mottled and dense, and the colours can be black, grey, red or white. Their fur has bold patches on it which resemble lichen on a tree, helping them blend in. Another very handy thing about the membrane is that the colugo didn't have to develop an entirely different set of wings. The surface area between the limbs is big enough so that they can involve the membrane over themselves. The average wingspan of the Sunda Colugo is 70 centimetres when extended. The length of their body can range from 33 centimetres to 42 centimetres, with their tails being 17.5 centimetres to 27 centimetres. Selective agent, selective pressure, and selective advantage. A selective agent is the environmental factor acting on the population of the organism. The selective pressure is the effect that the selective agent has on the population. A selective advantage of an organism is a certain characteristic that enables the organism to resist disease and increase chances of survival and reproduction. A selective agent of the Sunda Colugo is its food source. The effect of having to eat food means that the colugo has to travel to get different young leaves from trees. The selective advantage that helps the colugo overcome this is its ability to glide with its patagium. The colugo can travel over 100 metres, meaning a wider range of food and lower chances of running out of young leaves and shoots. Another selective advantage of the Sunda Colugo is the climate of the rainforest. Although it's quite warm in the tropical rainforests, at night the temperature drops and the colugo's offspring must stay warm to survive, which is the selective pressure that the climate has on the colugo. With its external patagium, the colugo has a selective advantage to overcome that. The patagium gives the colugo an added layer of warmth to keep its offspring cozy. One last selective advantage that the patagium gives a colugo is camouflage. The fur of the outer patagium resembles a tree trunk with its lichen and different coloured spots. The colugo's fur imitates it perfectly. The selective agent is the occasional predator that is looking for a bite. Darwin's theory is one of evolution through natural selection, in which organisms evolve over time according to their certain traits. If an organism has advantageous traits that increase their reproductive rate and chances of survival, they are more likely to be naturally selected. Selective pressures lead to evolution. Some members of a population may not be able to survive, therefore be unable to pass on their genes to the next generation. The advantageous genes will become more common, and the genes that decrease survival rates and reproductive rates will become more rare. Gradually, the population will change. This change in the genetic makeup of a population is called evolution. The Sunda Colugo has evolved over time to become what it is now. There would have been a gradual increase in population, then a decrease as humans hunted them. As the Colugos with a longer patagium were more successful in foraging for food and lived a longer life, the Colugos who had a shorter patagium and couldn't fly as far didn't live as long, and some didn't reproduce. The Colugos with a longer patagium became more common, and slowly the shorter ones started to die out. As different trees evolved, causing a new selective agent, there would have been a new selective pressure of camouflaging as well. The Colugos with similar coloured fur to the trees became more common, and the ones with different fur died out. One of the alternative beliefs to Darwin's theory of evolution was creationism. This belief states that the universe and living organisms were created and originate from specific acts of divine creation. This would mean that the Sunda Colugo was created by a specific act of divine creation and was created to eat leaves, glide around rainforests in Java, and camouflage in trees that were also created to camouflage Sunda Colugos. Another alternative belief to Darwin's theory of evolution was Lamarck's theory. Lamarck believed that when an organism changed to adapt to its surroundings during its lifetime, it would be passed on to its offspring. He thought that the changes were made according to what the organism wanted or needed. If this belief were the case, the Sunda Colugo could have had smaller patagiums, being able to glide smaller distances to nearby trees. As they ate most of the younger leaves around them, they would have to try to glide to further trees. Therefore, their offspring inherited bigger patagiums to be able to glide for longer distances.